back to CGH's podcast. I'm here with Luke as well. He's still up here visiting. Pretty cool. So we were talking about growing up in Salem, and we were bouncing off memories that you remember from Salem and what I remember from Salem, Missouri.
And sometimes they're a little different than what you recall, what I recall.
Right. Bounce on memories, figure where it's at. I know, like you don't remember, we lived in Salem, but we lived in two different houses in Salem at the time. So it was, not at the time, we lived on the one house down on Washington Street, and then Ma and you moved to the one down on Gertrude Street. And I remember more my childhood of growing up, because see, I was like, how old was I at that point? I think I was around 8 years old or so. I was like from 8 or 9 to 13 years old. I lived in Missouri there. So, but that was at the Washington house. Mm-hmm. And you were how old? How much younger are you than me? Where are you?
4 years.
You're 4 years younger than I am. That's right. So you don't remember, like I remember, that was when I grew up. Washington Street, I had my friends, Ben and Andy, and their older brother, Chris Smith. They were over the road. I used to stay with them all the time, and we used to run. The coolest place that we were talking about last time is down at the railroad track bridge. Mm-hmm. So when you left out of the Washington Street, you could take a left. It was right next to this back, like it was our house, had this like back alley that was a dirt road, and then back there was a like a scrapyard back there that an old guy, he was the nicest old man in the world. He was the nicest old man in the world. He had he would fix our bike chains. He would fix our bike chains.
Yeah, this is stuff that you remember that
you don't remember. Yeah, see, I would go down there all the time, man, and I'd go hang out with him because I can remember him letting me use the oxyacetylene torch when I was super young to heat up this part on my bike chain, because I guess he popped a link out of it and then shortened it, and he showed me how to do that. I was really young, but it was really neat that I got to hold a torch. I'm so young and help him. Anyways, we would go down through there. You take a right and you go down, and there was a big giant hill down that way. If you go where the scrapyard is in the dirt road, you take a right. There was some girl's house that lived there too that was friends with us, but I can't remember. I can't remember her name. It was like Christina, or I can't remember. Whitney, or I don't know. Whatever. So you take those right. We go down. We go past the crazy Bible thumper lady. The crazy. Remember, she used to hand out Bibles for on Halloween.
I feel like we would have skipped a house like that.
Well, no, Ma would tell us, "Hey, yeah, let's not go to that one. Let's not go to that one." I can remember that. But every time we ever went there when we were younger, just learning, they gave out Bibles. And we're just like, thanks, you dick. I can make sure to check and see if there ain't no razor blades in your Bibles before you eat them. Anyways, roll down that hill, right? Super fast. And that was old people's home down there?
Yeah.
Is that what that was? Senior living or whatever it was?
I don't think it's as fancy as it is now.
Yeah, I think when we looked at it last time, they have like a big parking lot and stuff like that.
Those old old folks.
Yeah.
A single building.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was more like a. Yeah, you're right. It was like a single building, no floors. You know what I mean? I imagine
how old folks' homes used to be.
Yeah. So you would cruise down that hill as fast as you could on your bike, and if you got enough momentum, you could cruise down the hill, come up the other side into their parking lot, in through their grass, and then there was like a big dirt mound that went for a really long time.
Like an embankment.
Embankment, yeah, exactly. It was a big, long embankment. You could get to the top of that bank, and I can remember only me and my buddy Ben Smith. It was a hard embankment, and you had to pedal real hard. And a lot of times you would get halfway up that embankment and have to stop and put your leg down and catch yourself and then walk your bike up. But we made it up to the top one time. Walk our bike down to the other side, and then it was a railroad track, but it didn't have railroad tracks on it anymore.
No, it was just the timbers going across.
No, the dirt part didn't have the timbers. We're talking about the trail.
Oh, I'm talking about the bridge.
No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. You follow me? Remember how to get over there? Old people's home, up over the embankment, down into the trail.
Okay.
And the trail just had the dirt, and it was kind of grass growing through, but there were no railroad ties and there were no railroad tracks. So, and then you cruise down, you take a right, you start cruising down your bike. It was real easy to ride on your bike. But we went down, man. It was probably 1.5 miles or 2 miles. It was a good long ride.
It never feels that long when you're on a bike cruise.
No, that's true. So you get down and you know you're getting close because there's the shit plant right there, like huge
poo vats.
Yeah, poo vats, and they're all frothy and spitting up. It smelled terrible. It smelled so horrible. But after you get past that, there was this railroad track bridge that was actually like old-timey railroad tracks.
Like thick timber.
Yeah, thick timbered, covered in creosote. You know, that black. And it would get so hot in Missouri, man.
Like you put your hand on it, and your hand would just get covered.
Oh yeah, you'd burn yourself. But you could like move the creosote around with like sticks and stuff. And it was all open, and you were real high up. We were probably 30, 50 feet up in the air. It was way up there. It was way up there. We used to sit on top of there, and we'd look over the side.
The most like chocolatey water down below that
yeah.
You would even as a kid, you'd be like, nah, I ain't touching that.
Yeah. But you'd sit on the side, and you'd look down, and we'd throw rocks off the top of it. A lot of times what me and Ben did, if you could catch it, there'd be like a black snake or something sunning themselves at the time, and we'd play bomber.
Yeah, you try to bomb that.
We'd play bomber, and we'd just drop, see if we couldn't hit it. But I remember that you could see a tire down there all the time, and then we'd always sit around.
You could throw rocks at the tire and try to bounce them off the tire.
Well, no, the tire was always underwater when we saw it. We could see down to the bottom of it, and we always had the discussion, if you fell or if you jumped, would you be able to survive? I think you'd be able to survive, but you'd break your fucking legs.
Yeah, you get fucked up really
You'd
hard.
get fucked up. I think you'd survive. It's just not deep enough.
And the ties were far enough apart that, you know, you might be able to ride across that, but if you got stopped in any way...
That good thought. Yeah, because I remember, they were, the railroad track ties, they were just spaced far enough where you second guess, can I just ride my bike across this and I'll be fine? It'll be like thump, 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 thump. But yeah, you're right. Like if you had got hung up or stopped or kind of wonky, your tire or your rim bent or something like that, and you were going down, like you would fall through the slats and bang off every rafter all the way down. It was super dangerous. It was way dangerous.
Something kids really shouldn't be playing on, but here we are.
Yeah, but we also, that's where we would, if we got fireworks when we were super young, or we took them from older kids or anything like that, we could go down there and shoot them off, and like the cops wouldn't come down there or anything like that. Because it technically, if I remember correctly, it was right outside of city limits. I thought
Probably
it was
just on the outskirts.
Yeah, just on the outskirts. But it was a super cool place to go.
To be fair, Salem itself wasn't all that big, but I think we were on the edge to begin with, and that was just skirting the edge right there.
Because it was, the Washington Street one had our Washington Street, and then Ben and Annie and Chris's house, and then there was a house full of 3 daughters, and I want to say her name's like Amy Rosemary or Amy something. She had short hair. She was my first kiss. She was my first kiss ever. I remember I had one of the black and green little watches that all kids have with the plastic watch that goes up to 100 meters. Like I was going to be some little kid diving 100 meters at some point, you know. It was Amy, I think it's Amy Roseman. I think her name's Amy Roseman. That sounds super familiar. Amy Roseman. I don't know. But anyways, she was my first kiss, bro. Like, I can remember I had to be home at a certain time, and I set my watch for that time, and I was like, hey, we were talking, and we were kind of talking about this, and we were like, all right, I've got, like, when it hits 10 seconds left, you want to just make out for 10 seconds? And she was down for it. So we made out for like 10 seconds, my alarm went off, and I was like, that was awesome. First kiss, made out with a girl, and I went home. Because the rule was what? What was the rule that when you were out?
Gotta be home by street lights.
Gotta be home by the time the street lights, when the street lights come on, not by the time they come on. Like once they come on, you better be walking into the house. And I don't even know what time that was. I have no idea. It's just that the street lights came on, we had to be home.
I think it was always around like 7 or 8.
Plus that, we were latchkey kids. Like we had our own keys to the house. Like we had wore them in those little things around our neck. And at least I had one. And I was always but let me think. Yeah, it was there, Ben and Andy's, Amy Roseman's, and then there was a little, right near Amy Roseman's house, that porch, that gray one, there was that back alley hill that went down to the side of the Piggly Wigglies and went down in the parking lot. And that hill was steep as shit.
That was like a grade that, like, even a trucker would be like, nah, I ain't going down this thing.
No, I mean, if you're going down, but I mean, it was a good grade. I don't remember it being super extreme, but I mean, it was definitely extreme for where we were at.
Those things where even if you wouldn't drive your bike up of it without being able to stop.
Yeah, well, we could. We would go back and forth. Like, me and Ben, even when we didn't have the geared bikes, we just had the BMX bikes, you know, you could cross it, and you could get it, but it was when we were older. We couldn't make it all the way up there. Your bike messed you up from doing a lot of stuff. You always had a bike too big. Like, it was always, you know, so stupid that the male bike has the bar right here on the thing, but the female's bike goes like this. Like, I get it's because they might be wearing dresses. Like, I get that, but that bar goes right in your nuts. And you're pretty guarded about your nuts. So, I can remember your bikes, because I can remember every time you had to stop, you'd have to lean your bike way over and then put your foot down. Like, you had to hold and it was green.
Yeah, wasn't it like a green 10-speed?
Yeah, it's like a green 10-speed or something like that. I don't think I remember ever riding it. I don't think it was a hand-me-down. I think it was literally your bike. It was just it was too big for you. But
kind of the thought probably was I just eventually grow into it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So that hill was super cool, and I was telling you the story about, dude, I'm telling you, Salem, Missouri had a witch. They had a witch. She was a witch, dude. She was a witch.
See, apparently I only remember the crazy cat lady.
You see, yeah, there was two of them. One you had to watch because it was a roamer. She walked around Salem. The other one was just stayed at her house, and that was the crazy cat lady. And the reason why I remember the crazy cat lady is because she, one, had a shit ton of cats, and it smelled like piss and cat shit all the time.
That's where we originally got Eek from.
Really? From her house?
The Siamese cat.
The Siamese cat that we had when we were kids? Yeah. I can't remember. But the reason why I remember the cat lady is because one cat had like this big fluid-filled sack on the side of its belly. Don't know what was wrong with it. And I can remember they called the cops. A cop came over, and we stopped, and we saw a cop was in her yard. And her yard's is very small. It was very small. It didn't... The house was very small, too, and it just had a shit ton of cats. And they fed all the outside cats. It was terrible. She was a terrible human being for doing that. It was terrible. So, the cop came, and he shot it. Like, I was like, the first time I ever seen a cop shoot a gun, you know? He shot it with his pistol. And then they bagged it up or whatever. And I was like, wow, I didn't know cops could do stuff like that. Anyways, there was a witch. And the witch lived at, here's Piggly Wiggly's. Here's that road we were talking about. Here's the other side of Piggly Wiggly's, right? And their parking lot and everything. She lived right there on the corner in the back. And it was a small, tiny house with two big bay windows. Like, you could see all of her house, except for, like, the last teeny bit in the back, like the bedroom area.
This is what the things that you remember vividly, but I have no recollection of.
She was a witch. And the rumor was that... she had stolen or kidnapped a little girl, and the cops, mom said she was one, she was mentally ill, and two, she was a super alcoholic, is what Ma says she was. And I can't remember her name or anything like that, but the rumor was she stole some little girl and held her captive for like 3 days or something. At least that's what we heard as friends and what we talked about in our little social circles at the time. And whenever we saw her, we were like, going the other way. Like, that's the witch. Let's go. So, one of the scariest times of my growing up in my life was, if you're looking at the Piggly Wigglies, they had, I think we're going to chill here. I think we're going to hold it down. You guys going to the water hole? So, I was there we're looking at the Piggly Wigglies, right? On the right-hand side, near that real steep back alley road, whatever we're going to call it. Right on the corner of that was the soda machine. And we would dig around and find soda, find change and stuff, and go down and get sodas.
Yeah, 'cause you'd find change out in the parking lot.
Yeah, you could find change in the parking lot.
That was back when, like, those cans of soda were, like, 50 cents. All you didn't need to find much.
I think I remember them being 35 is the 35 cents is like the...
either way, they were cheap as hell. You only need to find a couple loose things to change around there, and you can get yourself a
And it was like Pepsi Clear back in those days, and then I was getting like Pepsi Clear or like Mellow Yellow. That was my favorite then. But so I put in whatever my change, and I get my soda. And I'm so small that I can't get my finger in the coin slot to get the change out. And I'm like, I'm digging around. I'm like, oh man, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, maybe I'll just get a stick or something like that. So I'm standing there, I'm just paying attention, and out of the corner of my eye comes around the corner nothing but like some grimy, stain-colored sweats, top and bottom sweats, and it was not a time to have sweats on, right? And I turn around and bam, like to me at that age, that chick, she was like 7 foot tall to me, you know what I mean? And she was standing right there, dude, and it was the witch. The witch was right here, like way too close to me. I was super uncomfortable, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, dude, she's going to kidnap me. Like, I'm dead. She's going to kidnap me. And I don't know. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just looking at her, and I'm in shock. I'm in shock that she's this close to me, and I'm so scared. And she reaches down, and she sticks her finger in the coin slot, pulls it out, and holds the coin out like this. And like I showed you, she's like, if you hold your hand out, and I'm the witch, she went like this to me. Like she placed the coin in my hand, and then she did one of these rub on my fingers like that. That's weird. And I remember, the reason why I remember it is because when she did it, that was super weird. When she did it, it felt like she had Vaseline on her hands or something. Like, I can remember being like super grody, like, ugh, it was so gross. And then she goes, she's looking dead at me, bent it over to talk to me. She's real close. I can like see her teeth. And she goes, you have to use this finger. This finger's the one that you need to use. So, and I'm old enough to know it flipping somebody off. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, anybody who's seeing this is just this crazy mentally ill alcoholic lady with this young ass kid holding a soda, and she's just flipping them off in his face. In his face, just blah, 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 blah. Like, they don't even know what they're saying, but I can just imagine what that was looking like. Yeah, she's like, you gotta use this finger. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. And, like, I took off, and I ran up that big-ass hill, and I never stopped. I sprinted so hard. I was running. I ran all the way to my friend Ben's house. I knocked on the door, beat on the door until he answered. And I was like, dude, the witch was, like, right here. He's like, what? What happened? He had to come in. I had to explain to her. Yeah, the witch scared the shit out of me. My mom said she was like, I guess she was on meds or something. I don't know. Mom would have to explain who this lady was more. But you don't remember the witch at all in that area. What do you remember about, do you remember the little cigar tree that we had out there? Used to drop those long pods. They were super long. They looked like green beans. I know which kind of trees
you're talking about, but yeah. It's not a tree I remember.
But you also remember there used to be a house close to us, and it was demolished.
Yeah,
and there was dirt hills.
That's where I got to have stitches from.
Yeah, that's where I got you some stitches. You're welcome. I got you your first scar ever. You're welcome. You're welcome. How much do you remember of that story?
I know that we were both out there fucking around in those dirt mounds because that was the thing to do.
Yeah.
We had like a little garden spade that if you went like this, the actual spade part would come flying out.
You see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about that shovel. I can remember being super surprised that happened.
But I remember, I think I was watching you just fucking went like this, and that thing, I think it hit off a rock and came up and just went thwump.
The way I remember it, is I was sitting there whacking dirt with the side of this spade because it was dirt miles packed hard, and I was whacking dirt. And I'm sitting there and I'm whacking dirt, and then I went to whack dirt and I didn't have the spade anymore, and I immediately looked up to see it going, and I remember it connecting with your forehead. I can remember it going ping, and then I remember all this blood coming up and it just running down your face, and I was like, oh shit, right? So I go over and I'm like, and you weren't crying or nothing. You were just like, what was that, right? And I was like, I'm going to go get Mom real quick because you can't see what I'm seeing, right? And I remember all you did was you went like this, and when you put your hand up, it pulled your hand away. It was covered in blood, and you just started screaming. Wow, right? And I don't even think you were hurt. I just think the fact that... So I ran down there as fast as possible. I ran down as fast as possible and got Mom. No, I left you there. I ran, because we were right next to the house. I ran and I got Mom real quick. Mom comes out. Just like, I was like, Luke's bleeding, Luke's bleeding. Took you down. How many stitches did you get?
It wasn't that many. It's like 4 or 5.
Yeah. But that was your first stitches. First stitches. That's a pretty good one.
Because I also remember, like, so we rushed to the hospital and everything, and so... I just remember them putting, like, after doing the stitches, which sucked, they gave me, like, some neon Band-Aids to go over it that looked cool or something in mine.
Yeah, it was like, it held the wound closed or something, didn't it? Even
something
though the
like
stitches
that.
did.
Then I also remember they also hooked me up with some gum that, you know, was in the shape of Band-Aids. You know?
Yeah.
Cool, like, you take your mind off of the...
Yeah.
Thing like, oh, I know, just give him some candy to distract him, because that'll work with a little kid.
Now the guys are back with the four-wheelers. I don't want to hear like a whole bunch of four-wheelers on the podcast audio, you know what I mean? So we were at, let's see, the stitches. You got your stitches.
Got my sweet bubble gum and Band-Aids.
Yeah, sweet bubble gum Band-Aids. So Mom moved out of there and then went over to Gertrude.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember being at Gertrude as well. I can remember their apple tree in the back.
Yeah.
I can remember slugs in the house. In the middle of the night, you could step on slugs. I remember barefoot stepping on slugs a couple times.
I don't know that.
Yeah, Mom used to keep little beer in a little pan at the bottom. They crawl up there and they die. They get all drunk, can't burp.
I remember finding slugs like outside and going out.
Yeah, there's a ton of those. Ton of those. But like, see, Gertrude, I didn't have.
You
I didn't have.
like I was.
Yeah, I was not there like you were. You were there. I was living in WV around that time frame. You know, doing the outdoor thing. Because I can remember going down there, and I didn't. I don't remember really having friends. I don't remember. Like, I thought there was like a girl that hung out with us or something, but she was a bitch.
Kind of. A couple doors down.
Yeah, something.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, but she was a bitch. She was fucking. I can remember not liking her, and not because I was just like, oh, you're a girl and I'm a boy. I was not liking her because she was like mean to everybody. She's. That's the vibe that I can remember off of her.
I think I remember that. I don't.
And then there was some. Wasn't there some kid that was a friend of yours? You guys like played. You guys swapped video games, and you lived up the road a little bit from you. Like, here's the house. If we're looking out the driveway, we look to the right. His house was off to the right up that way. And like, I can remember he didn't he end up stealing like one of your video games or keeping one of your video games? It was a Super Nintendo, I thought.
I can't remember.
Or you stole one of his video games, or I don't remember how it was.
Yeah, because if I would have done that, Mom would have beat my ass.
She didn't know which video games are yours or not. She didn't know that. She didn't keep track that well. But yeah, like Gertrude Street is way closer to like in the town Salem. Like, see, the most we pushed out for Washington Street was, let's see, it was a straight shot to the middle school. And we could ride our bikes to the middle school, and then, or the elementary school. Yeah. That was the elementary school. And then we could, you could ride your bike to the middle school, but it was all uphill. So like, that wasn't fun. Like, once you went past like Grandma and Grandpa's house and through the park, and you got on that uphill, it was an uphill forever. It was super steep. You couldn't ride your bike up that way.
Most of the times we'd stop down the park regardless, and you wouldn't go any further because all the fun was in the park.
Yeah, the park was cool because I looked on it on Google Maps. Like, you can actually see that house. And the garage had like 10 or 12 feet of stone stacked up. With it couldn't have been built just for the garage. Like, it had to have been like a sawmill at one point or something.
It looked like a historical kind of building.
Yeah, it did. It looked real historical. I wish I could just show them on Google Maps. But the creek went down, and the creek was actually one of the foundation of that garage was actually an embankment for the creek to come down. Like, it flowed on it all the time. We used to explore that creek up and down.
Yeah, because at that point it was super shallow.
Yeah, it was shallow right there by that bridge area, and then when it got to that corner, it made that 90-degree turn. It filled up a cow pond.
Yeah,
that was right here.
You can get massive ass bullfrogs.
Yeah, huge bullfrogs in there, and then that pond would freeze in the winter, and you could, if it got thick enough, you could take off running and slide across the ice, and then push your foot off the root system on the other side and slide all the way back.
That was the thing with Missouri, though. Some winters you didn't get very cold, so you wouldn't.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. I remember it being pretty cold sometimes.
But again, that was the same kind of town where you got like 2 inches of snow and you were off school for like the next 2 days.
Yeah, yeah. But it was also, I guess it was pretty hilly for Missouri. Like, it had a good bit of hills, if I remember correctly.
I think in some parts of it were more hilly than the others.
Mm-hmm. Man, I can remember we had 2 different places to play football. One was across from, I swear that her name's Amy Roseman. I swear it's Amy Roseman.
Couldn't tell you.
But, yeah, my first girlfriend, she dumped me and dated some boy named Casey. Casey was like the new cool kid, too. All the new cool kids are named Casey.
Her.
No, I didn't.
I
didn't even know what was going on back then.
In my childish brain, whenever I heard you say something about dumped, I pictured someone getting chucked into a dumpster.
Oh, no, that's not how that works.
I realize that now, but in my small brain, it's like, dumped, what the fuck? Well, getting chucked in a dumpster, that sounds kind of like getting dumped.
Yeah, because I didn't go to, when did I get out of Missouri? I would had to have been, like, I can remember, the earliest I can remember is 3rd grade, Mrs. Sellers. And that was at the elementary school. That's the earliest. I can't remember 2nd grade. I can't remember 2nd grade.
I can only remember 3rd grade as well. I can't remember 2nd.
Yeah. But we were in West Virginia by then. We had to have been in West Virginia by then.
You were, but I was there. Like, because I remember getting to 3rd grade and thinking, hopefully I get Miss Sellers. That's what my brother had.
Oh, yeah.
And I had Miss Huffman.
Yeah, I had Miss Sellers. I can remember her being very tall, brunette lady.
Very tall, slender lady.
Yeah, brunette lady. I wonder what she's doing nowadays. If I can look her up.
Hit it up.
Hey, remember how I misspelled Virginia that one time?
Guess what I really spelled.
But I had Miss Sellers, and then it was Miss Fortner in 4th grade.
Who I also had.
You had Miss Fortner as well, and like I said, she looked like the girl that's the host of that show that says, "You are the weakest link, goodbye." Like, she looked exactly like that, except more freckles.
Because I remember you told me a story one day, because she was kind of on the older side.
I thought so.
And so you said that, like, apparently she wasn't feeling well that day, so after you guys went out for recess and came back in, she was passed out at her desk, and everybody came in and sat down without making a noise and just let her sleep.
Oh, dude, I remember that. Now I forgot all about that. I have the smallest inkling of... See, it's weird with memories with me. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if they're memories or these are, like, dreams I've had. And I'm like, they seem super real. Caterpillar. Outside podcast. Later, Caterpillar. Like, I could have swore I remember. I think she was sick. I really think she was sick.
Maybe.
Like, I think it wasn't that she was so old. It wasn't that she was so old. I think it was that she was, like, super sick, but she was still at work. Which I don't... That's so dumb that Americans believe that. I even believe that stuff. Like, you should just work through it. Man, you're sick. Go home. You're not a shitbag. Anyways, I remember being real sick, and I think we all snuck in. We all just sat in the thing and just sat there real quiet. And let her sleep, and I feel like I remember her waking up.
Cause she was like the nicest person. It's like
she was super nice. Yeah. She was
like
nice.
the 4th grade teacher you always wanted. Cause she...
Yeah. And then let's see. Where 5th grade?
By that point, I was in Iowa.
No.
5th grade, I
no, because I was in 5th grade in Missouri, man. So you were not in Iowa. You can't.
No, I'm saying I was in Iowa by 5th grade.
When you hit 5th grade, you were in Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah. See, when I was in 5th grade, I can't quite remember. I remember the building. That was the building that was up high on the park. That was going towards the. Remember, I was showing you the fishing
That's just like
pond?
a big square building that just goes straight up.
Yeah, and it had a big. We had a good football playing area. I remember getting hit by a car when I was a kid. 2 of us did. I think it was me and Chad Smith. And Chad Smith was definitely a Chad. He was a redhead and he was an asshole. I didn't like him. He was popular, but yeah.
When was it that you were stuck in the hospital for like a week?
I was in there for like 30 days, almost 32 or 30 days.
I just remember it was a long time.
Yeah, I got hepatitis airborne, and I think I was 6 weeks. I think I was in. Yeah, I was in. That's how I remember it. Not days. I remember being in the hospital I remember 6 weeks I was in the hospital. God, it was terrible. I almost died. But
because the reason I really remember that is because every time we go in there, since I had no idea of what was going on, I just knew you were in the hospital for something, and to just kind of give me something, Mom would go into the cafeteria there, and I'd always get a whatchamacallit.
Yeah, candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can remember. The reason why I remember that, let's see, I can't remember who I had for 5th grade. I can remember Mr. Dillon was the principal. And I remember Mr. Dillon because everybody called him Mr. Dill Pickle. And that was the principal of the school. And I was getting in trouble at that. I remember being in trouble, being loud, disruptive in school at that point. And I can't remember who she was. It was our main teacher, but we had like on 3rd period time or what like that. Like, I remember a science teacher that worked the other side of the hallway. She would come over and they would just switch classes. Is how they would work. The kids would stay in the classes in their seats. They'd switch classes, and that was time that I think it was Miss Sherman. I think her name was Miss Sherman. She would teach us science. She had these big bouffant hair, and she was very Southern-ish. And I can remember I got kicked off of a field trip. They were taking a field trip where they were going to go on top of a big mesa. I don't know, is that in Arizona or something? I feel like...
I thought generally all the field trips always went to Montauk State Park.
No, see, we were going somewhere where you were on top of like a tabletop mesa, and because I was being disruptive, and she was like, what if we get close to the edge and Aaron starts pushing, or... Oh, shit.
Only field trips I can remember them like taking us to were like the ones to like the cave system. Like Mammoth Park or what...
Yeah,
no, it would have been to Elephant Rock. Because those had like giant mesa type rocks there.
No, that's not, no, you're not thinking correctly what a mesa I'm talking about. A mesa,
I'm thinking like...
It's like a big flat spot. It's flat and it goes real high. It's a mountain, right? It's like a mountain, but then the top of it's completely flat.
I think Elephant
Rock didn't have that. Elephant Rock had those huge boulders. They had huge, massive, round boulders. And they were all precariously perched on things and stuff like that. It's like a little bit of anything and it could roll. I always wanted to see one of those boulders roll. I always wanted to see one of those. I tried to push on them, even if there are people down there. Push on them. Come on, just a little bit. It didn't
just
work.
Want to watch the world burn.
Didn't work. But Elephant Rock was a super cool place. But yeah, I remember I got kicked off a field trip because of that. I was super disappointed. And but I can remember, yeah, I was definitely starting to get in trouble at that age. It wasn't, I don't know what was going on at that time. And then back to WV for 6th grade. But yeah, when you were at the Gertrude house, which school did you go to? Which ones did you go to?
Well, I still went to R80, and then...
You went to R80.
And then...
So the same elementary school I went to.
Yeah, and then when...
did you never make it up to the Up the Hill Middle School? You never...
That was closed when I went to 4th grade, because that was when the new middle school got built.
Uh-huh.
And I could take a bus to it, But then I discovered it's a straight shot there, and Mom started letting me ride my bike there every day.
Oh, okay.
Because I could get there, I could get home fast. I realized I could get home faster than just taking the bus.
Ah, I see. Plus, you don't have to stop all the time to let other
Nope.
kids out, stuff like that. It's just you can keep on going. Yeah. I can.
So, you know, because at that age, you're like, this is sweet. I could ride my bike to school. No, you know, it's kind of my own thing, you know.
Right, right. We get a little bit of responsibility back. Man, they hardly do that shit nowadays, man. Like hardly anybody is a latchkey kid. Like I ride my bike to school and from school and to school and back home, and they have their own key to their house. Like that's everybody has like babysitters now, or the kids or parents have to take off early to get them. It's terrible. Like I don't know how old were we when we had responsibility to be able to unlock the house, because I can't.
Fairly young.
Yeah, I'm very young. Because I can remember Ben Smith, my buddy, had the BMX. We were talking about this, and he had the pegs on the fronts and the backs. No, just the backs. So he could. I'd just hop on the back pegs, and I'd hold on to Ben's shoulders, and Ben would ride all the way up till we got to that first real big hill going up to R80, going up to Salem R80, and we're trying to. We couldn't make it up that hill. I think he made it up there once. I thought it was pretty awesome. But he's like, when I start slowing down a lot, you got to hop off. We always just hopped off for each other. And then, man, somebody's shooting off some rounds. He had the pegs on his bike, went straight through there. So we had to have been, because I remember 3rd grade, and I know we rode our bikes. I can remember getting picked up at 3rd grade sometimes, but I think at least by 4th grade, it was just us doing our bike thing to school and back, which was like, I don't know, 2 miles maybe? 2 miles? And it was a straight shot too. Well, you can't hardly remember Washington.
Well, I know, because I rode my bike to R80 as well.
From Gertrude, didn't you?
It's either I rode my bike there or I walked home. I can't remember. It was one of the two. Cause I know I didn't have to take the bus after a certain point of time. I just kind of, because it was just a straight shot down to the house from the school, and be told don't fucking stop anywhere.
Right.
You go straight damn home.
Yeah, I mean they were strict. It was strict. Like we had to definitely leave school, go straight home, and then we'd call Mom. We'd use the house phone, call her at work, and say we were good, and then we were kind of do whatever we neaded to do.
Just so long as you didn't go off and
so
cause trouble.
Definitely by 4th grade. I don't know what age that is. I don't know what age 4th grade is. We had our own key to the house, and we were doing our own thing. We were allowed to go where we wanted.
3rd grade when I was either riding my bike or walking home. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, because I know I did, but dude, I can remember this story. I remember this story. It was me, Ben Smith, Andy Smith. Chris Smith was the older brother, and he was a dick to us, but that sometimes he was cool. Like, he beat on us a good bit growing up. And he didn't like me too much because he was in high school. I could out sprint him. I could outrun him. Like, we would race between the Washington house and Ben Smith's house. There was this road right there. There was a big straightaway right there. We'd run, and I'd barely beat him, but I would definitely always beat him. I saw his shadow, and it was a turkey buzzard. Oh. It was back, and I was like, what's that going across the field real quick? I'd always beat him. He didn't like that. Anyways, we had this other friend named Nene, and Nene was, I think he was Filipino. I think he was Filipino. He was some type of, like, Vietnamese. His parents, their language was, English was definitely their second language. You know what I mean? And Nene was pretty cool. Nene had a bike too. And I can remember we were down back by that scrapyard area mechanics on that road, like we're going towards the road to the old people's house. Right near that Bible, it was the Bible thumper lady, the crazy religious lady's house. She had a big old hornet's nest up in a tree. And Chris, he was a high school kid, he had one of those 10-pump BB guns. So we were sitting at that We were standing across the street from it. We were shooting this hornet's nest with BB guns, and everything was a block. Like everything had blocks. Remember, it was very. This was a block. Next block. Next block. It was all squares. You know, and so here's our house. Here's Ben and Andy's house. Here's that scrapyard. Here's the road. There's the Bible thumper, and there was a block right here, and there was a hard hill here and a hard hill on this side. And Nene's house was up on this side over here. It was, if we went between Ben and Andy's house and our house, and we went not towards Piggly Wiggly's the opposite way, Nene's house was on the right after you went a block and up the hill. Because remember, there was some weird brown house that was like up higher than everybody else's house to the left. And nobody went in there. Like, that was like, we weren't allowed to be in that yard. It had like a brick, concrete wall around it to hold back the dirt or whatever. It seemed like that house was sitting on a hill higher than everybody else's. And it was nicer and bigger. I think it was abandoned though. Pretty sure. I can't remember. Anyways, Nene's was up there. Nene come down here and turned left and saw us. He was heading over to Ben and Andy's house. He comes down, he takes a left, he cruises down, and he's looking at us, and we're just talking while he's coming down, but he has his shirt off. He has his shirt off, and he just rolls past us instead of stopping and talking. We thought he was going to stop and talk. He just rolls on past us and goes to make that left, right? And we were going, no, Nene, no, right? He comes over, takes that left, and he's right near that hornet's nest up in that tree where the hornets attacked Nene. And I can remember him going, ah, ah, and pedaling his bike as hard as possible. And he's like flinging his arms around. He's trying to outrun him on his bike, and he's going. I've never seen anybody make it up that hill. Nene's the only one, because that was a thing that we compared. Who could make it up the hill without getting off their bike? That was our little, I got that one and you didn't, you know, our little competition. But I've never seen anybody make it up that hill. Nene did. He ran inside. I guess by the time he got to his house, he had, I can remember, holy shit, there must have been like 30 stings, like all over his back, front. Oh, he got them on his belly, near his nipple, on his face, his neck. They stung the shit out of Nene. And I can't remember. I can remember him for a couple days after that, he was always covered in calamine lotion. He always had calamine lotion, that pink stuff.
The pink stuff.
Yeah, it's like Pepto-Bismol for your skin.
Any kind of poison ivy, get a little cotton ball, calamine lotion.
This stuff stinks too. I hate that shit. It sucked. I hate calamine.
It worked though.
I don't know. It never really worked for me. I didn't get too much out of it. I never liked it. But he was, I can remember, oh, and the one funny thing, if you went to Nene's house, if you went into his room, he had this little, behind his bed, there was a crawl space door. Like, you could just fit in there. We could fit in there, we were kids, but you could take the crawl space out, and Nene hid, I don't know where he got it from. I didn't know, but he had a fucking, a nudie chick poster. He had a nudie chick poster,
which
and
at that age is worth their weight in
gold.
gold.
In gold. Like, one, I don't know what to do with that. Two, I don't know what they're doing. I have no clue, but for some reason,
I know I shouldn't have
for some reason, I really like the way this looks growing up, right? And I can remember, dude, it was so hilarious. It was some brunette chick with like sunglasses. She was completely naked, of course. Big old boobies, big old titties, tanned, real tanned. I can remember her hair being like completely pulled back tight. It looked like she had like gel products on. Sunglasses, big old sunglasses. But she was literally like this, right? And she was opening all of her stuff. She was opening that monkey like this and like staring at the thing. And I was like, I didn't even know there was an inside there. I didn't even know that had an inside. What's going on with this? I can remember looking at that thing. Nene had the first. I can't remember his last name either, but I can just remember his name's Nene, and he is the first naked chick like I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I don't know why I like this, but I really like it. It makes me feel good in places. But that was, I can remember that from Salem. Salem was fun, man. Remember? Do you remember the homeless dude that always walked around Salem? He had a big, huge white beard, and it was always dyed because he chewed tobacco. So always had a tobacco stain right around in this area. He spit, and like, yeah, Chris, I can remember Chris Smith throwing snowballs at him. Yeah, from super far away.
Yeah, you kind of gotta appreciate a little small towns like that. It's where generally you can get away with doing more stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
Than you could, like, say, if you grew up in like a big town.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was a small town
where people tend to fuck with each other. You know.
Yeah, not too much. Everybody just kind of mind their own business. We had rowdy neighbors because you remember across the street from Washington House was that 2-story house.
Blue house?
Bluish gray, something weird. But it was like little apartments. That's what it was. Like everybody had their own like little. That's what it was.
Wasn't there always like shit being thrown out into the alley behind it?
Yeah, people. Yeah, there was a lot of trash and stuff back there. Like they didn't take very. And it was a little rowdy. It was definitely a little rowdy. We weren't allowed to be in those apartments if I remember correctly. But you
had to walk past it if you're going over to Grandma and Grandpa's. Is that was the alley that would head?
No, I always thought you were talking about the right side alley. That back left side, that back left side alley was always clean. It was always nice.
I remember like a fish tank being smashed in that alley.
Maybe just one, but I don't remember that. But and then it had all those propane tanks, like 5 of them all lined up right there to the right.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then there was a shed to the left that had ivy all grown up on it. And then you walked through that small little path where you cut through, and then you were in the corner of Grandma and Grandpa's backyard. Remember? Well, I can remember my first girlfriend lived across the road there. My first girlfriend, I can't believe I remember her name. It's Tabitha Capps. Tabitha Capps. That was my first girlfriend in Missouri. And then I remember, I don't remember what. It was before I left to go to West Virginia. But I think her name was. I had another girlfriend. I think her name was Crystal Mincer. I think it's like I remember it was Crystal, but Crystal Mincer. I can't remember. She had real long. She legitimately looked like. What's that? What's that damn show? What would you do if I sang out of tune?
I don't ever remember this show.
I think it's Growing Pains. No, not Growing Pains. Or Have a Little Help from My Friends. Oh. It's on Netflix right now. The Wonder Years. The Wonder Years. Never Wonder. So if you the chick named Wendy in Wonder Years, you can go look at it on Netflix, or you guys could definitely go look at it. The chick named Wendy, she looked just like Wendy from the Wonder Years. Crystal Mincer. I can't believe I remember her name. She broke up with me via a letter. She wrote a Dear John letter. I guess that's our version of getting broken up with by, I guess, a text message.
Yeah.
But I remember I was visiting my dad in WV for the 6 weeks that I had to go in summer, and I got a mail, and I was reading it. It was like 3 pages long, too. And yeah, she broke up with me. Dumped my ass. And I think I stopped. Yeah, but Tabitha Capps, I think, was my first girlfriend, and I think after her was Amy Roseman. But I can't remember. I know Amy was my first kiss. I never kissed Tabitha. I never kissed Crystal either, which was weird. Never got close to her enough to do that. I remember we had a time. We were hanging out at the Salem Tigers High School up at the bleachers area down at their football. And it was just us. It was like during the day. And I can remember up there that I had a friend named Ryan White. And Ryan White was a cool kid. Like he used to put hairspray in his hair, and he had the side spike. Back when the side spike was cool. Had the little side spike going down the side of it. Ryan White. And he was dating Crystal's friend. I think her name was Jennifer. Jennifer something. Can't remember. But her and Crystal were friends, and like, I don't know, her and Ryan would like make out and stuff if I remember correctly, but I could never work up the nerve to even kiss Crystal. Like, I thought she was, I don't know, I was way out of my league, I guess. And yeah, I can remember being at the high school there. and we had the chance, and I didn't take it. I didn't take it. That sucked. But we used to be able to ride down to the high school too. The high school was a good 3 miles away.
Yeah, high school was on closer to one of the edges of the town.
Yeah, it was a good ways. It was definitely a good bike ride.
But whenever it was hot during the summer, and whatnot, and they had the sprinklers going down there.
Yeah, because the football field they had the sprinklers, and you'd get drenched. You'd run through the sprinklers, or we'd slide on the field or whatever, and it'd be those worked out great, especially when it was hot. Summer, Missouri, humid as shit.
Those big old.
Yeah, the huge ones. Yeah. Yeah, I can remember. That was a good thing. I can remember going to Salem high school football games, and they had one of the bandanas. We used to wear them on our head, Steven Seagal style, and I got a lot of the football players, the high school football players, to sign them.
I remember going to one getting like a blue tiger paw painted on me.
Yeah, you get your face painted with a blue tiger paw. Yeah, because is that where you went to high school at? No. You went to high school in Iowa. I'm sorry. That's right. So you were out of there, 5th grade you were in Iowa.
Yeah.
So, and obviously you had to take a bus there because middle of Iowa, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
No, that was when we were still in town. We lived in the town on Moreau.
Oh, that's right. That was the first place.
Stucco kind of house.
That's where that there was you had an old dude neighbor that worked on the Alaskan pipeline.
It's like one of the nicest guys you could ever.
Yeah. I don't know. Was he a veteran and worked on the pipeline, or was he just one of the people who just worked on the pipeline when they installed it? I couldn't remember, but I remember sitting back there because when I was stationed in Alaska, I could talk to him about Alaska, and I mean that's pretty rare, middle of nowhere, Iowa, talking to somebody else. How are you going to meet somebody else that's been to Alaska? You know what I mean? So I remember talking to him. That was with let's see, we weren't living in the house then when me and you got in the motorcycle wreck. We were living in the country house way back where the house is now.
Yeah.
Because I remember, because we got in that motorcycle wreck. It was Mom's Harley. She had a Sportster, and it was a Sportster,
smaller one.
Yeah, a Sportster 883, and she bought it off I think she got it for $1,200 with like 11 miles on it.
Than that.
It was super low because it was a guy put it in an ad in the paper. She caught it, and he had won it by putting in a raffle ticket at a hockey game.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got 3 daughters. He's like, I'm in a suburb. I'm not going to ride this thing around. Like, and my mom was like, do you think something's wrong with that? We went and looked at it, and I was like, buy it. Like, you don't miss this deal. Like, if you want a motorcycle, that's what you need to get.
I remember she got it like way below what she should have paid for it.
Way below. Yeah. It was like $1,200.
Like
I can't remember what year it was. What year the Harley was. But I can remember Iowa didn't have helmet laws. So I remember I was riding the motorcycle. I was riding the motorcycle, and after school, you had a thing you went to afterwards where you guys played like a bunch of video games and
that was
board
like
games and
latchkey kind of. You were considered like latchkey kids because you get dumped there after school or whatever. I think the bus would actually come by and drop you off there. And it had like arcades and stuff up there.
Yeah, everybody had a whole bunch of Nintendo stuff, and you could play not PlayStation, like Super Nintendo, and like a whole bunch of different type of games, and like it was just like
stuff to keep you occupied while till your parents got off work.
So your parents got off work. I do remember that they had a weird religious tone to them.
Yeah, it's like Noah's Ark something or another.
Was it? Because I can remember you had invited me to go see that thing because I was visiting or something. I was living in WV and I was visiting. He invited me to go down there, and Mom was like, yeah, go down there. It's a cool place. So we went, and we were playing video games, and then I can remember they all made us stop playing and having fun. And we had to all get in this circle, and they put on this movie that we were watching, and it was explaining to us why rock and roll with and it was showing AC/DC.
No, you're thinking that.
No, this is Iowa, dude. Like,
okay,
I know.
Noah's Ark thing, that was in Missouri. That was when I was real young.
I don't know that one. We didn't have the motorcycle until we got
in Iowa.
What you're
thinking of was the youth group thing over there by Big Blue in Iowa.
That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about in Iowa. Like, yeah.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, because now I remember what you're talking about. Because we were playing Xbox or N64 because they had that.
Yeah.
And you were like, "This is pretty cool." Then because then they brought us over there to show the TV. It's like, rock and roll's the devil.
Yeah. That's what they were saying. Rock and roll is the product of Satan, and like it showed a whole bunch of AC/DC stuff, and it showed
Highway to Hell.
Yeah, they're singing about Highway to Hell. Like, look, they like the hell. They like Satan. They're all devil worshippers, and I can remember them. I can't remember the name of the lead guitarist at AC/DC, but he says something about, when I'm up there, he has a quote where he's like, I'm up there, I'm just in a trance. I'm not even in control of my body or something like that. And they're like, yep, see, he's been possessed by the devil. And I'm sitting there going, look, I'm 16 or 17 at the time. Like, I'm old enough to go, no. Like, I have all their CDs, I have all AC/DC. I've never gotten a Satanist vibe. Like, Highway to Hell was just something that was just like, I'm on a highway to hell. Just something to rock out to. It wasn't like, if I listen to this, I'm glad I'm going to hell. Super weird. I can't remember. So I went with the motorcycle and I picked you up at one point. And we were riding back. And we decided to, instead of cutting through town, we were going to cut through the old neighborhood back near the quarry, that it's just a straight shot, and then the road just 90 degrees to the right. And it was like, no, to the right. The left was the railroad tracks. You come straight down in, the entrance to the quarry was here. We're here, we took a right-hand turn, spilled the bike. I remember going around the right-hand turn, and I remember looking down, and there was like a fish-sized rock sitting there. And I remember looking at it, and I was like, my back tire is going to hit that. Like, I know my back tire is going to hit that. And I went up on the tire, and it rolled, and it put my back tire too far over to the left. And when it put my back tire way over to the left, we dropped the low side. So we dropped the low side and slid. And I can remember, I think I was sliding backwards on my belly. I mean, it's a 90-degree turn, so we weren't going that fast to begin with. But
you still have all that momentum.
But still, yeah, I mean, we're in first gear, and we're going, and bam, slid. I remember sliding backwards on my belly or something like that, and I got right back up. Like, I remember hit, and I slid, and once I stopped, I got back up, and I went to go grab the bike and pull it up. And it was, it had broken the back tail light, spun up the brake, the handlebars were all fucked up.
The exhaust pipes, I think, was all scraped up.
Yeah, the exhaust was super scraped up. I mean, it's a low side. Sportsters aren't meant to be in, like, you can't, if you put those down, they're gonna be messed up. Like, there's no way around it. You're gonna mess it up really bad. And I remember getting you, asking if you were okay, and I remember you hopped back up and you were like, yeah, I'm fine, I think I'm good.
Probably just, I want to go home.
Yeah, you were fine, and you were good, and you had some road rash on you. I can't remember, do you remember where you had road rash at?
I think it was just a little bit on my leg and maybe a little bit on my arm. Nothing like horribly big.
I thought you had some on your side or something too.
Maybe it was like some slight scrapes.
Or your butt. I think you had a good size one we were kind of worried about. I can't remember. But we fall, and I get back up, and I'm getting the motorcycle up, and I'm trying to get it all ready, and I'm trying to check it to see if I can even get this back, right? And I'm already worried about you and this fucking truck. That truck comes over, big old truck going into the quarry, and stops, and he starts giving me shit about not wearing helmets. And he's not even getting out of his truck. He's just sitting there looking at us, and he's just giving me shit. And I remember going, I'm not like just randomly mean to people, but I was like, I just got a fucking wreck. Like, I got a fucking wreck. I got to worry about getting home. I got to worry about my brother. Do you think I give a shit about what you think right now. Go the fuck away. I'm like, I don't fucking care. We're fine. Go away. I remember going off on this guy. And that dude looked like he was like 400 pounds of fat. Like fat. Like if all he would have had to do was roll me up in a dip can and stick me in his lip and suck on me for a little while, right? That dude was, I don't know. But I didn't care at that point. At that point, I was not in the mood for that shit. So he rolls, he's like, oh, rolls off, right? So we limp it back. We got back on, we got it started. It was, the handlebars were kind of bent. And I was more worried about the fact that we had tail lights and brake lights out, that we were going to get pulled over. We get it back. We ride all the way back to the house, park it. I'm asking if you're okay. I
remember you sent me in to go take a shower and start scrubbing up.
Yeah, because you had a bunch of rocks and stuff in your rash. I was like, you have to get that shit out. You have to.
Like you go in there and you told me you should scrub it really good.
Yeah, take something. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be real shitty, but you have to scrub it to get all those rocks out. And you did. You did get a good scrub. I had to do it too, and I can remember I was like, man, my mom is gonna kill us. He's gonna kill me. Like, not because I wrecked the motorcycle, but because I wrecked and you got skunked up. I was like, she's gonna kill me. So I call her, and I tell her everything. I was like, hey, Mom, like,
because you gotta be 100% honest, because you know she's gonna come to me and be like, what the fuck happened?
Luke and I got in a wreck on the motorcycle. We are okay. We have a little bit of road rash, nothing super bad, but the bike is messed up. And she's like, okay. This is the first time that she didn't get mad at me at all. She did not get mad at me at all. She was like, okay, well, what happened? Where you guys hurt up? I was like, I got the least of it. Luke got more of it. But it's just road rash. He wasn't bleeding or anything like that. He says it burns. Because I remember you saying it burns pretty bad.
Which I would think it would.
Yeah. I mean, it's a friction slide across concrete. Or, pavement or whatever. Yeah. We wrecked that motorcycle. Yeah, Mom was not mad at me. But I definitely wrecked that. I ruined that motorcycle. For sure. I think she sold it, though.
She did.
She sold it for parts?
She replaced the tail lights, the brake lights, and got that all, like, all the pieces that were all, like
messed up,
rashed up, or all
messed up,
up. She replaced all that, and then I know she sold it. I think it still had like some of the chrome scraped up and
probably
stuff. But I'm pretty sure she sold it.
Yeah, but those also, I think if I remember correctly, they're just like the chrome shields that go around the exhaust anyways. If I just didn't know much about motorcycles. I knew how to ride them, I know how to drive them, you know what I mean? But I never...
So I remember it sat in the garage for
ever, yeah. Yeah.
I know we had to replace the battery.
That's right, because Ma talked about, do I need to like start it in the winter and stuff like that? And that's back when I thought you did. Like, I was like, you should just put a trickle charger on them and don't start them. Because the Harley dealership down there told me that they shouldn't do that, because what ends up happening is if you don't go run it, it just builds up moisture in the engine, and then it gets cold again, and then that moisture freezes, and it could crack and break stuff. I didn't know that. I do now, though. Yeah, Salem was, I can remember Doc. Doc was this old man who walked around with a basket and a straw hat, like the
always gave out
"Hello,
candy.
my baby" type of straw hat. And he gave us candy. We had to give him hugs for candies. Like, and I don't. If I look back at it, I don't remember any sinister thing about that. Like, I can't.
I think he was genuinely just a nice old guy.
Yeah.
That just.
And I remember he was a doctor of some sort, so that's why we called him Doc. I mean, I can remember, like, there was never any, like, good game pats on the butts. There was no, like, seeing his hand droop down where it shouldn't when they gave hugs. Like, we just gave, like, side hugs.
He generally had the best of intentions.
Yeah. And I look back, it's so weird nowadays that, like, if you see that, if you look back in your past and you see that, you start questioning that. That's so stupid that it's become one of those things you have to think about.
Nowadays, someone saw that, it's just instant phone to the police.
Like, almost anywhere. If some old man with some candy in a basket with a straw hat tucked in,
that's what I think it goes back to it being a small town.
Yeah.
Where things aren't like seen the same way as if they are in like a bigger town. Or,
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, he just a nice dude. Just come around, give us candy for hugs. It was cool. And he never touched my wiener. Did he touch your wiener? Yeah, I don't think so.
He was generally just a nice old guy that just wanted to give candy to people. Just to help brighten his day up a little bit.
I kind of wondered where, it was Ben and Andy and Chris Smith, and their mom's name was Joyce, and their stepdad, I think it was their stepdad, name was Rick. And is it a B?
That was.
Oh. Rick, and I wish I could find them. They were good friends of mine. I used to when I moved from there and moved to West Virginia. Like I kept in contact with Ben for a long time. We'd call on the phone until I can't remember. I don't think my dad let me call anymore, long distance phone calls. You know what I mean? I can't remember how we split off. But I had a picture of him. I had a picture of him in my wallet when I was a kid for the longest time. For the longest time, yeah. Ben and Andy and Chris Smith. Joyce and Rick were their parents. But Rick was the stepdad. I mean, I can remember we could ride our bikes from the Washington Street one. It goes straight up like you're heading towards R80, but you take a left somewhere. I can't remember where. I guess you could do it anywhere. It was probably a left, not the one past Piggly Wiggly's, but the next, because you were up on another hill. You missed that. That was a hard hill right there. We could go down, and me and Ben used to take quarters, and we'd go down to play at the pool hall. So they had a big pool hall down there in the middle of town, close to Main Street. And we could put quarters in there, and we'd play pool. Play pool the whole time. That was super fun. No, and it was all adults. There was smoking in there and stuff, and nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. As long as we stayed out of the way, we always picked the pool table that was away from people, like, playing pool and stuff. So we picked that, and we'd play around for a little while, and then we'd come out of there, and we'd go to the pet shop. Do you ever remember going to the pet shop?
Not really.
Really. It was super small. It was really small. And you walked in, and it was all, like, immediately it was all fish. Like, all these fish tanks right here. And the other side had this small little area that had this massive parrot cage. It was huge. It looked like a human cage. Like, imagine the typical cage that you see in, like, cartoons if people are stuck in some, like, bad guy's cage. That's the size it was. But it had a macaw in it, or a blue and yellow parrot. And it would bite you. The person would tell you that, hey, yeah, he will crush your fingers. Don't mess with him. But he would try to get him to talk. But what we used to do is we'd go over, you couldn't see it where the people that owned the fish store were. We'd take the little fish out of the fish tank and drop them in the piranha tank. Because they had a piranha, and the piranha would eat it. And then we would, I can remember me and Ben getting Ziploc little sandwich baggies and putting peaches out of the can in there. And we stood by the corner side. We stood by the corner side where they could see us, and we acted like we had palmed the peach in our hand. And we would act like we were reaching into the aquarium so the people would look at you like, what are these kids doing reaching their hand in the aquarium, right? And we'd pull out and wiggle the peach, and then we'd drop it in our mouth real quick, and we'd act like we were eating their fish alive. They'd chase us out. And we'd take off running, right? I can remember they had some bluegrass festival at some point down in there in Salem, and I wanted to go watch it, and I was also a big Garth Brooks fan at the time.
I think everybody kind of was in that area.
Yeah, old Garth Brooks. We were listening to that.
Thunder Rolls.
Yeah, Thunder Rolls and the Lightning Strikes, old Garth Brooks.
Do you remember the grocery store, the Country Mart?
Well, hold on. Well, I remember wearing the exact replica of
Garth Brooks?
Garth Brooks's.
Yes, I
think
know
it was
that
a
outfit.
black hat. It was a black hat,
With
and then it had
the blue and black
square, and then like a black square, and then they were opposite on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I had boots, I think, at the time. I can remember having boots when Mom was dating John. Do you remember when Mom was dating John?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember John? You don't remember the huge boat, huge dump truck, He used to lift the fish. Where we made the fish kiss. We caught. That's
Yes.
John. That's John's place.
That's the place I got bit by a snake.
Did you get bit by a snake there? I don't remember that.
I got bit by a snake, but apparently its fangs were like in the back of its mouth, so I didn't actually get like nailed with anything. It's what I remember hearing in the hospital, because I never got to get like any antivenom or anything.
Oh, okay. So it must have been like a black snake or something.
It was something because they were down by a creek or whatever, and I was pulling up a fucking tire.
Yeah.
And that's where it got me.
Oh, I barely remember that. I barely remember. Anyways, I remember we had boots at that point because I can remember me and you, we jumped out of the loft of the barn and into the back of his dump truck with nothing in it. It was just doing it. And I can remember I had cowboy boots on, and I remember landing on that, and it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. It hurt my heels really, really bad. And I remember thinking, how the hell do those cowboys jump out of the back of the saloon, you know, or off the back of all those westerns I watched by doing that? They would die, right? Anyways, we were at Pool Hall. Let's see, where were we at?
But here's what's mine. Do you remember the grocery store, the Country Mart?
The Country Mart. Now, where was
always? It was right across from where the original Walmart was. Like one of those old school Walmarts. It didn't have any kind of grocery or anything.
So walk me out of Washington. Are we at Washington Street or are we at Gertrude?
It's be close. Do you remember where the Sonic was? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I remember where the Sonic was.
Basically,
on that
you
strip.
kept on going down that strip towards the very end. And then the Country Mart was on the left, and like the old Walmart was on the right before they moved it over towards Gertrude and became a super center. Because that was all the big craze.
I don't remember that. I remember that Sonic, and I don't remember the Country
So you probably
Mart
don't remember being able to go in there as a kid, and as you go past like the bakery, being able to go up as a kid and ask for a free cookie, and they'd give you one.
No. I never hung around. That was a little bit too far when we lived in Washington, and I wasn't around at the Gertrude. You know what I mean?
That's
area.
whenever Mom would go in there, grocery shop or whatever, you know, and she'd be going past the bakery, you know, be like, go up and like, yo, can I get a cookie? And they'd be like, here you go.
Oh. Yeah, no, that was when we were living in Washington. That was a little bit too far to push it, and plus it was in like, it wasn't real bike friendly to be over there. You had to really go a lot of back road areas or skirt around, or
because you couldn't be caught on that main road.
Yeah, if you got caught on that main road in there,
you're gonna get your ass beat.
You're gonna get your ass beat for sure.
Were you there, like the time that the police, you know, had like this big thing so they could come through and get all your kids fingerprinted in case something happened? Because I remember getting fingerprinted like that so that in case something ever happened to you, they could identify you.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember.
Because I've always thought, you know, you're getting your fingerprint. You're like, this is so cool. You're doing all the fingerprint things.
Yeah, and you're just.
But you don't realize
giving up all your rights. That's all you're doing. You're letting them have you.
That it's there. In
building a profile.
It's something there. If something ever were to happen to you, you're just thinking, sweet, I'm getting all my fingerprints done.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember that part. What was oh, hold on, we got the Diesel Boys in the background. Man, that dude's cool. I'm probably going to leave my dirt bike boyfriend to date that guy.
You probably should.
I definitely should leave my dirt bike boyfriend.
I met a lot of those driving across West Virginia.
Well, what was the story? Oh, I was thinking about it. It's definitely a Salem story. Damn, I can't think of it, man.
What's it about?
We were talking about it last time, and I can't remember. I can't even remember how to start it.
Like, what was like the context?
That's what I can't. I've lost that. Let's see. The other place was pretty cool that we were speaking about was that right side of Gertrude. If you took out of the house, you took a right, you took an immediate right, and you went up. Yeah, you went back that road for a long ways and went up to this dirt road that had like a gate or a fence that you could just easily go past.
And then it would just start sloping up.
And it was sloping up and off to the thing. We went up there, you got up real close, and there was a huge antennas up there. Real massive antennas, like a building with like a perimeter.
It was like a radio kind of
Yeah, it was super weird. I don't know what it was. But we looked at it in Google Maps last time, and now there's a lumber mill. A lumber mill or something up there, man, off to the right. And I that lumber mill couldn't have been there when we were kids.
I know for a fact I remember like there leading a little dirt road that went over that way. But
Like
there's no way a full-fledged lumber mill was back there.
No, we would have been in there getting in trouble.
Absolutely.
At nighttime, we'd have snuck up there because we used to do like night missions and stuff to sneak into places as little kids.
That's the beauty of having a sliding door that doesn't make much noise. You can get out of the house pretty easily.
Yeah, and it was a one-story, thing like that. See,
because over that way, because I'd always go over there and check because under the water tower they had all those. Like the power company or whatever right there. So they had all the extra power boxes and transformers sitting out there. You could go up there and see all that stuff that you normally could.
Oh, okay.
You know, because on the thing there, it had the big warning sign on it that shows like the electrical monster murdering you.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember seeing that. I don't remember seeing those. I don't have the memory of seeing that. Like, I don't have too much of outside of Gertrude. Like, I can't remember why. We were living at Gertrude, and I visited Gertrude, and for some reason, I don't remember living at Gertrude and hanging out with Ben and Andy.
Because they'd be on the other side of town.
Yeah, but I definitely would drive down there. That was fine. And I was definitely at the age where I could have done that. I was at the age where I could have gone down there, and I was allowed to, on a bike.
Maybe you just lost touch by that point.
Yeah, maybe.